podcast, wide open, woke sessions. Mind, body, soul, no second guessing. Spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing. Wisdom hunting, cash and knowledge blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open, woke. Eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies and eyes. These days we roll, truth on the mic, destiny and vote. Hands to the streets, wide open.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? This is Audi Rob with Wide Open Woke Podcast with information to make you want to say wow. Hey, we got a video I want you to check out today. It's called Aeon of Horus. Check it out. It's going to be in-depth of insights of how NASA connected with the Dark Majic, and this is some deep stuff. This is some hidden stuff they don't want y'all to know about. Because they don't want people to wake up, but it's time for everybody out there to wake up to the truth, okay? And I'm here to make sure you get it straight to your senses, to your eyes, so you can see it for yourself. You make the decision. I'm not telling you what to believe. We just getting hidden truth that's been hiding, and they've been doing this stuff all behind closed doors. But everything has to come forth now. Remember, we are in Aquarius. So as we're actually in Revelation, so everything's being revealed. But we will soon talk about that tribulation that's soon to come. But right now, we got this video coming. We're going to go ahead and get it without further ado. Get this baby going here. If I can. Here we go. Bam. If I can do this, let me know if you can. I mean, I can't use it. But we'll see. It's all pricey.
The spectacular launch of Apollo 11 in 1969 seemed a noble expression of the full potential of rational human scientific reasoning. The apparent success of that first manned lunar flight also established a profound measure of public pride and confidence in the stalwart dedication and integrity of the men and women employed by America's first civilian space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. In 1969, no human endeavor could have appeared more far removed from primitive superstitions and ancient occult mysticism than our National Space Agency, an agency whose rocketry success was solidly grounded in precise mathematical logic and practical technological rationality. And yet, while a decade of NASA's spaceflight wizardry enthralled a nation of television viewers almost nightly, the truth of NASA's deeply dark, occult origins was discreetly hidden from public awareness. Origins linked, perhaps, to the most wicked of occult practitioners in modern history. None other than self-proclaimed Satanist Aleister Crowley himself. This uncanny convergence of science and mysticism was facilitated by the rocket pioneer genius and founder of Caltech's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, John Whiteside Parsons. In the years just prior to the Second World War, Jack Parsons and a handful of his Caltech buddies were working to perfect solid-fuel rocket propulsion. Parsons' rocket project limped along on a shoestring budget until his efforts drew serious attention from the Defense Department. Thanks to the war, his research expanded into a major rocket design enterprise that would become known as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, JPL, which in turn would develop a vital association with more advanced space rocket design proposed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. But Jack Parsons was possessed with extraordinary ideas that sought far loftier heights than mere space rocket designs. Parsons was fascinated by the occult, and in 1941 he was to join the Pasadena chapter of Ordo Templi Orientis, Aleister Crowley's secret society. Not long after, Parsons took over the Agape Lodge himself. Observing Parsons' natural aptitude for ritual sex magic, called Thelema, the membership saw him as a potential successor to the great beast Aleister Crowley himself, whom Parsons addressed as Most Beloved Father.
Aleister?
Born on October 12, 1875 in Warwickshire, England, Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He was responsible for founding the religion and philosophy of sexual magic, Thelema, in which role he identified himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century.
Wow.
In 1898, he joined the esoteric Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he was trained in ceremonial magic. Like many of that era, Crowley was something of
a lot of this stuff, people, I see a lot of this was happening with the dark magic. They would see a lot of people think, oh, that dark magic, oh, that just ain't nothing. No, that is real. And they were using dark magic to open portals, which brought more entities in, which brought another form of destruction in, which is a whole other different level. But this stuff was true because the planet we live in, people, is a magical planet. It's a magical planet based on spirituality. And it goes deep, connecting with our biospheres, which is around our body. I mean, it goes so deep, but we're going to get into that. But let's continue on what we were talking about here.
Crusading militant intellectual, determined to break down the conventions of accepted social morality. Later he traveled to Mexico and then India to study Hindu and Buddhist practices. In 1904 he married Rose Edith Kelly, and they honeymooned in Cairo, Egypt. In the Great Pyramid, Crowley conducted an occult ritual intending to access supernatural powers.
Wow.
The black magic ritual held in the Great Pyramid marked an unexpected turning point in Crowley's life. The following day he recounted, "Rose got into a strange state of mind. I had never seen anything like it before. She kept on repeating, dreamily yet intensely, 'They are waiting for you. They are waiting for you.' When Crowley asked Rose who was waiting, she kept repeating that it was Horus, an Egyptian god. Rose knew nothing of magic and even less of Egyptology, making it highly unlikely that she was receiving a message from the gods. But to test what Rose was saying, he took her to the Cairo Museum. And although Rose had never visited the museum before, she rushed through the rooms filled with ancient artifacts, until suddenly she stopped dead before case number 666. "There he is," she insisted. Within the case was the image of the god she claimed to have seen in her vision, the god Horus. Over the next 3 days, at precisely the same time, an unearthly voice dictated to Crowley the Book of the Law, the book that would become the Bible of his new religion.
The Book of the Law.
Following their fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid, Crowley's wife Rose mysteriously proclaimed that the equinox of the gods has come. The alleged superhuman intelligence contacted by Aleister Crowley during his visit to Egypt was named Aiwass, who declared, "I am a god of war and vengeance," and then dictated to Crowley a work called the Book of the Law, which prophesied wars and revolutions, leading to the collapse of Christian civilizations and the dawn of the Aeon of Horus. Crowley's Bible also proclaims the law of Thelema, usually summed up in 3 mantra-like verses. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. And every man and every woman is a star. According to another Crowley student, Kenneth Grant, Aiwass is an extraterrestrial from Sirius, the stellar representation of the Egyptian goddess Isis.
See the connection? Wow.
Years later, from January through March of 1918, Crowley began another series of sexual magic ceremonies in New York City called the Amalantra Workings, in a Central Park West apartment to intentionally open a portal of entry allowing demonic and other similar entities a passageway to access our earthly world reality.
See, now doesn't that sound like a movie? Don't that sound like a movie? They've been showing y'all that in movies, but they've been actually doing it for real. That's where they got it from to put it in the movies, because it happens for real. Yeah, that was some real true stuff right there. Check it out. And I've heard of this guy right here before.
Crowley was convinced that seeking contact with supernatural beings offered the only salvation to the human race. My observation of the universe convinces me that there are beings of intelligence and power of a far higher quality than anything we can conceive of as human, that they are not necessarily based on the cerebral and nervous structures that we know, and that the one and only chance for mankind to advance as a whole is for individuals to make contact with such beings. His ritual in New York established contact with an entity called Lam. Lam being a Tibetan word for pathway or pathfinder. Lam was considered to be of interdimensional origin, which was the term then for extraterrestrial. Crowley's drawing of Lam bears a striking resemblance to what has become commonly referred to as the gray aliens. Slight-bodied, big-headed, large dark-eyed mannequin creatures, which are primarily an American phenomenon.
Y'all seen those
and
before.
It is interesting to note that all the Lam workings were done in America. Reports of these UFO-associated entities later became prevalent in the popular culture of the 1980s thanks to Whitley Strieber's best-selling book, Communion, as well as many of the Hollywood alien movies that would follow. The rift in between the spaces of the stars, created by the Amalantra working, opened a gateway through which Lam and other extra-cosmic influences could enter the known universe, and more specifically, our Earth world reality. But according to occultists involved in such things, the portal has since widened, thanks in part to additional hermetic tinkering by Jack Parsons.
Babylon working.
By 1945, Jack Parsons was high priest of Crowley's Agape Lodge in Pasadena, where he was joined by L. Ron Hubbard, later founder of Scientology. Impressed by Hubbard's exuberance and energy, Jack wrote in a letter to Crowley, "I deduce that he was in direct touch with some higher intelligence. He is the most thelemic person I have ever met, and is in complete accord with our principles." He was soon initiated into the secrets of the Ordo Templi Orientis and made Parsons' magical partner. Together, Parsons and Hubbard hatched a sordid sex magic scheme called Babylon Working to bring forth the Antichrist and Apocalypse. Wow. Babylon meaning Gateway of the Gods. But even Crowley expressed his misgivings about this project, stating in a letter, "Apparently Parsons and Hubbard, or somebody, is producing a moonchild. I get fairly frantic when I contemplate the idiocy of these louts." A moonchild is a human vehicle for a demon seed, not unlike Rosemary's Baby. From the diaries of the participants, it was also clear that they were not as adept as Crowley in the closings of portals. What their amateur efforts may have accomplished was the drastic enlargement and ripping of an existing magical portal, and the subsequent non-closure of it. Perhaps the rip they created was not possible to close. In any event, the modern UFO era began exactly a year and a half later, on June 24, 1947, with Kenneth Arnold's sighting over the Cascade Mountains in Washington State, as well as the UFO crash at Roswell, New Mexico. Successful or not, this ambitious scheme collapsed on itself when Hubbard skipped town with Parsons' wife Betty and allegedly $50,000. Later, Hubbard claimed he was operating on orders from the Navy to break up the Black Magic cult at JPL. But despite their lofty hermetic ambitions, the lives of Crowley, Parsons, and Hubbard all came to tragic ends. Aleister Crowley died a destitute heroin addict in 1947. In June of 1952, Jack Parsons was killed in what was claimed to be an accidental explosion in his home laboratory. The FBI quickly moved in and mysteriously seized all his records and notes, which remain classified to this day. And L. Ron Hubbard died of a stroke in 1986. Following Crowley's fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid in 1904, his wife Rose proclaimed that the equinox of the gods has come. According to the Book of the Law that he transcribed, the rulership of three gods has held a determining force on the fate of the world throughout human history. First was the Aeon of Isis, whose reign was matriarchal and nurturing. Next was the Aeon of Osiris, her consort, whose influence was patriarchal, destructive, and full of turmoil. The Aeon of Horus, child of Isis and Osiris, was ushered in by Crowley, and is the age we live in today. Horus, as ruler, is but a child, and throughout this age we will witness the child maturing, and thus the stability of the world solidifying gradually into more harmonious new ways of thought. However, the Aeon of Horus will be preceded by an era of great violence, aggression, and fire.
So you're thinking at war?
Shall we simply dismiss Crowley and Parsons as an eccentric pair of lecherous crackpots? Or have higher initiates within secret society operations recognized that certain profound revelations might be gleaned from their magical workings? Revelations so profound as to be secretly incorporated into specific space exploration projects. Is it possible that Crowley did in fact make contact with extraterrestrial beings? And was he alone in his efforts? In 1919, just 1 year after Crowley's Amalanthra workings in New York City, members of an occult group in Germany called the Vril Society claimed to have established telepathic contact through trance medium Maria Orsic with beings from the Aldebaran star system in the constellation of Taurus. These aliens were said to have actually gifted the Vril Society with flying saucer technology. Even famed German rocket engineer Hermann Oberth himself admitted the success of German technological advances during the war was thanks in part to the people of other worlds. And later, following World War II, there evolved a curious convergence of American and Nazi technologies within NASA's space rocket development programs. Was merely building more superior rockets than the Russians the driving motivation for such an odd alliance? Or was it something deeper, darker, and far more occult? And more than that, just what explains the driving motivation behind the relentless perpetuation of secret societies all throughout human history? Crowley's main goal of practicing Western magic was to advance humanity by contact with higher intelligence, either by calling them down or by traveling to their planet. Crowley believed contact with these higher intelligences was attainable by becoming one with them, that is, by metamorphing into man-gods or supermen. This goal was attainable through the ancient systems of Hebrew and Babylonian Kabbalah and other forms of metaphysical science.
Wow.
The Kabbalah is a collection of Jewish magical texts that were given to mankind via psychic communion with a fallen angel called Raziel, keeper of the secrets. Raziel is one of the fallen angels that serve the light-bringer Lucifer. The Kabbalah gives Kabbalists a roadmap called the Tree of Life, which explains how to invoke and communicate with a pantheon of powerful spirits. The magical information in the Kabbalah originates from Babylon and ancient Egypt at the time of the pharaohs.
Wow.
The Holy Grail sought by the Knights Templar in the secret chambers under Solomon's Temple was not gold and treasures. It was instead the Hebrew Kabbalistic text itself, which contains secret alchemical codes with which physical matter can be transformed molecule by molecule by the use of incantations of ancient Hebrew letters and numbers. The secret codes to gain mastery over the illusory nature of reality itself. This was the heart of Crowley's ritual magic, as well as Freemasonry's. But the quest for attaining the gods was not limited to Hebrew Kabbalah. A powerful impulse to access its supernatural roots appeared in Germany after the turn of the 20th century. Disaffected with the gross materialism of rampant industrialization,
after the 20th century, so industrialization is set in, and you'll see how all this comes into play with dark magic. This is weird.
German people sought new doctrines that would restore lost links to their true cultural heritage. In 1881, Madame Helena Blavatsky claimed to have traveled to Tibet and there to have been initiated into the secrets of spiritual masters she called the Hidden Elect. In the doctrines of occultists, the Hidden Elect, or the Great White Brotherhood, are believed to be humans who by initiation and self-denial have risen to become adepts. They have gained powers and knowledge beyond those of ordinary mortals. Unlike Aleister Crowley, Madame Blavatsky did not claim to be an adept in her own right, but she did claim constant telepathic communication with her hidden masters. They had revealed to her, their chosen one, the occult history of the human race, within which contained the conception of the blonde, blue-eyed Aryan race as being the master race. Austrian clairvoyant Guido von List believed that in the Germans, more than any other people, runs the blood of the mythical race called by Madame Blavatsky the Aryans. List saw the outbreak of World War I as proof that the modern world with its materialism and its democracy was destroying itself. But out of war and destruction would come the victory of the German cause and the beginning of an Aryan millennium. List revived the prayer of the 16th century philosopher and heretic Giordano Bruno. Old Jove, let the Germans realize their own strength, and they shall not be men, but gods. Like Aleister Crowley and Madame Blavatsky, List's psychic researches led him to believe in the existence of a hidden elect. His visions of the ancient Germanic tribes had revealed to him an elite class of priest rulers called the Armenenschaft. The role of the Armenenschaft was to preserve the occult knowledge of the Germans' Aryan ancestors. List claimed that the imposition of Christianity on the Teutonic tribes and the persecution of the followers of the old religion forced the Armenenschaft to continue its traditions in secret. Their law had lived on in the rituals and symbols of a network of secret societies. The store of occult knowledge had been preserved down the centuries by Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and chivalrous orders of the Knights Templar. With the rise of National Socialism in Germany, Hitler's deputy Heinrich Himmler formed a new occult order of Teutonic Knights out of the Armenenschaft, which became the Nazi SS, a powerful secret society that would eventually claim German rocket design genius Werner von Braun as one of its members. After World War II, thanks to Operation Paperclip, von Braun and virtually his entire Nazi V-2 rocket design staff were repatriated into America's space rocket program, where they would continue to pursue their own secret space exploration ambitions. The whole history of the occult is a legacy of daring exploration. From the Knights Templar seeking out hidden chambers under King Solomon's temple, there arose a secret society brotherhood determined to seek out the lost mysteries of ancient alchemical magic. Christopher Columbus followed Templar traditions to set out for the New World.
Another connection. Christopher Columbus and the Templars.
Even the colonies fighting for existence in early America were a Freemasonic enterprise. As well, the daring explorations of Freemasons Lewis and Clark opened North America for pioneer settlement. More recently, daring 33-degree Freemason Admiral Richard E. Byrd and his pilot Burnt Balkan in 1928 dropped Masonic flags on both the North and South Poles. Balkan even added his shrine Fez. In the Antarctic expedition of 1933, 60 of its 82 members were Freemasons, and on February 5, 1935, Byrd established the first Masonic Antarctic Lodge, number 777, of the New Zealand Constitution. Rare mention is given to the fact that in late 1938, just before World War II, Admiral Richard E. Byrd visited Hamburg, Germany, and was invited to participate in the pending Nazi Neuschwabenland Antarctic expedition. Despite his great expertise with polar exploration, Byrd declined the German invitation. However, in 1947, a United States Navy task force under his command was dispatched to the Antarctic for the alleged purpose of mapping the pole. Was this subtle evidence of a competition between German and American secret societies to rediscover Atlantis under the South Polar ice? In 1969, assuming the Apollo 11 astronauts actually landed on the Moon, while Neil Armstrong hopped about on his moonwalk, 32nd degree Freemason astronaut Buzz Aldrin was performing a solemn Masonic ritual to honor Isis inside the lunar module. His Masonic flag, which accompanied him to the Moon and back, is now an honored relic on display at the Scottish Rite Freemason Temple in Washington, D.C.
God has us stuff to believe in, and they gave us His Bible.
The Holy Grail, sought by secret societies and contained within Kabbalah or Middle Eastern Babylonian magic, was mastery over materia prima, the very fabric of time and space. And it is this key fragment of lost esoteric technologies, the hermetic secret of materia prima, that has been preserved by ancient priesthoods and after many centuries passed on as the occult alchemy or practical magic still utilized by modern secret societies today. Common occult symbols variously represent materia prima, or the unseen hyperdimensional physics that drives our physical reality. The hexagram, far more than the representation of Judaism, is symbolic of the spinning tetrahedron. Even the swastika is a stylized representation of spinning torsion physics. The age-old alchemical quest has been to steal materia prima down from heaven and capture it in material form within this world's three-dimensional existence. Could this be the secret motivation behind particular NASA projects? Is it conceivable that high initiates within NASA had been made aware from certain Aleister Crowley channelings that specific artifacts existed on the Moon, Mars, and even Venus that were essential components for the continued...
See, now that's how they found out that the artifacts were on the Moon, through the psychic, through him. He saw all those. Man, this is some deep stuff, man. He saw all that.
Advancement of this hermetic understanding and alchemical mastery, that the alchemical Holy Grail lies just beyond our grasp on the Moon or Mars.
Mm-hmm. Or in Antarctica, put it that way. You know Antarctica got it. It's the Occult NASA. Mm-hmm.
Just prior to World War II, when Jack Parsons was experimenting with rocket engines in Pasadena's Arroyo
You know what? We're
Seco,
going to stop it
on
right
the other
about
side of the
there 'cause I
country,
want 30
33rd
minute
degree
excerpts. This
Freemason
is going to
and
be the
head of the
first.
National Science Foundation, Dr. Vannevar Bush, was working with noted Harvard astronomer Dr. Donald
let this
Menzel
part go out
to
first.
develop the differential analyzer, an analog computer capable of predicting centuries ahead the future positions of stars and planets from any point in the solar system. An indispensable tool that would eventually allow NASA to accurately predict planetary configurations related to flight mission specifics, not to mention arcane astrological configurations.
Right.
Curiously,
See?
following the Roswell UFO crash in 1947, both Drs. Vannevar Bush and Donald Menzel were to figure prominently as major players on President Truman's top-secret Magic 12 UFO investigation team.
MJ12.
By 1958, the distinctly civilian National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, was born with ambitious plans for both manned and unmanned space exploration missions. Having studied the potential social ramifications of such projects, the Brookings Institution filed a report in 1960 entitled Proposed Studies on the Implications of Peaceful Space Activities for Human Affairs. This report cautioned that anthropological files contain many examples of societies sure of their place in the universe which have disintegrated when they had to associate with previously unfamiliar societies espousing different ideas and different life ways. Thus, to avoid social disintegration, the Brookings Report recommended that discovery of any extraterrestrial life forms or their artifacts might be wisely withheld from general public disclosure. However, the report curiously made specific reference to the Moon, Mars, and Venus as being possible repositories for such extraterrestrial artifacts, almost as if knowledge of the existence of such artifacts had already been established and specifically targeted for recovery. Thus, considering the profound influence of Aleister Crowley over Jack Parsons at the inception of JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, and its subsequent intrinsic association with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, do we dare surmise that major space exploration projects have been deeply influenced, if not directed, by Crowley's alleged associations with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional entities? As early as 1918, Crowley's aliens revealed the existence of tantalizing artifacts on Mars.
Yep. All right, y'all, we're going to stop it right there, and we're going to come back to it, and that's going to be the first half of it. Okay? I don't want to go ahead and finish it. I was keeping it within 30-minute segments, because everybody don't, kind of how you see me dozing off of there every once in a while. I got to keep my butt awake. But anyway, yeah, but I work a lot of hours, and and I'm trying to get this stuff out. But this is some real good information. I'm glad you guys take a look at it, review it, check it out again, and look at it closely. This is some true information that I'm giving you right here. This is videos that I got off an archive. It's a HDI hard drive. I got 2 terabyte, and that thing's filled with 1.8 terabyte. It's almost filled up, and I've got so much information. I'm just going to leak it. Just leak it all out, all the true stuff. It's a lot of stuff. America did a lot of stuff to their people. America's done a lot of stuff to their own people, to our own. Why we here supposed to be living free, and while we're out here living free, y'all steady killing us. Yeah, that's what y'all was doing. 9/11, just another setup to kill your own people. It's so crazy. The information I got on that is gonna freak y'all out. You're gonna be like, what the hell? And they still worshiping it on every day, come around 9/11. Okay. Y'all gonna find out about this. Y'all gonna learn today. But anyway, this is Audi Rob coming to you with a lot of information that we're gonna get to you shortly again. But once we finish this little remake, I'm gonna get this out today. Right now, I'm gonna go record the other half of it. So, and we get it out the way because I didn't want to do it the whole hour. But anyway, love, light, and peace to all. And may y'all have a pretty wonderful, 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 wonderful.
Blast wide open woke sessions. Mind, body, soul, no second guessing. Spilling truths, no sugarcoat dressing. Wisdom hunting, cash and knowledge blessing. Hands to the streets, wide open and woke. Eyes on the prize, ain't no time for jokes, lies and eyes. These days we roll, truth on the mic, destiny and focus. Hands to the